This big plain here around these lakes is called Breiðamerkurjökull today, but that name derived from the word Breiðamörk. That means actually big forest or broad forest that was here in the time of the first settlers and probably until the Little Ice Age starting 1600. Then the glacier came seeping down and this forest is all disappeared. But we have found some evidence that it's not only in the books that here has been a forest. I hold here in my hands a piece of this forest, the birch tree.
Iceland is widely known for its majestic glaciers. They attract tourists from all over the world. However, those massive ice caps have not always been here. In fact, they are very young in geological terms speaking. In the time when the settlers arrived in Iceland around the year 870, Iceland looked much different than it does today. The island was covered by a vast forest and the temperature was probably warmer than it is today. In this video we follow Einar, who is an Icelandic expert guide in ice caving and glaciers. He found the remains of a forest that once stood in the area where he lives. The retreating glaciers reveal parts of the landscape that once was a forest in time of Einar's forefathers. We are here at the National Park of Glaciers in Iceland. We're going to try to find a lost forest that once was here. However, the glaciers seem to have swallowed the whole forest about 400 or 500 years ago. We're going to try to find the remains to learn more about the time of the settlers and the ancestors of Einar.
They sent it to America for carbon 14 and that came out 3,000 years old.
Okay.
And this one might be from the same, one not from that particular one, but I found it in the same place, you know.
Yeah.
So, but the one I found a couple of years ago, where we are going to look now, it looked a lot more, like much more new bark on it, from like birch tree.
Yes.
And this looks already ancient when I find it.
Yes.
That one looked a lot more recent, so and the glacier had just been receding over it. So I expect that one that I found, and in the location we are going to investigate now, that could be from the forest of Breiðamerk, that where now is Breiðamerkursandur, the outdoors plain of the big forest Breiðamerk.
Yes.
Not a single tree in that whole region now, but I expect that might be from that period, like 1600, when the glacier came seeping down from the higher down to the plateau.
Yes.
We have arrived here at Breiðarlón. This lagoon is our obstacle before we can reach the place where we are going to look for the pieces of wood. We need to kayak across this lake, 2-3 kilometers. Right behind me we can see the destination where the glacier is coming down and ending. This is where it's been receding and leaving actually a layer of woods and stuff. So this is where we are heading. Johann, now we see here behind us up to Mávabyggðir. These mountains up there in the glacier, they are far inside the glacier now, but isn't it right that there are some models that the scientists have drawn up that at the settlement they estimate the glacier to have been all the way up there, you know, it didn't reach down to this valleys at all.
Yeah, that's correct. And even by this mountain at the foothill here, there was a farm at the time of the settlement.
Yeah.
The models show that at least around the year 1000, the glacier was far, far behind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the maybe 13th century that it started to advance.
Oh, okay.
The glaciers today have not reached the location where they were at the time of the settlement.
far from it, isn't it?
Far from actually, far from it.
After 1300, the glacier has been advancing more and more, mostly very fast after 1600, isn't it, or 16th century,
Yes.
until 1900 or so. Then it came all the way down here around this mountain. This mountain here on our right side, it was surrounded by the glacier for a good while, you know, until 1950 or so.
Yes. But last century they started to retreat,
Yeah.
and we see the position today.
Yeah.
Yes, so the ice caps in Iceland have been much bigger and much smaller than they are today. In this video we are talking about Breiðamerkurjökull glacier, which retreats about 50 meters per year. Every year a new piece of land gets exposed to daylight again.
Now we are here at the deserted island kind of, well, after a long kayaking, and this is the area where the glacier has been receding, and I have found some pieces of wood. And so now we are going to look for wood, or hopefully we find something from the old forest that used to be here centuries ago. Yeah, okay. Here's already one piece of wood. Birk tree, I think. Johannes, I found one. Come take it out. This is birk wood, I think, from the forest. You can still see the bark, or how you say? Yeah, birkur, birki.
Okay.
This is piece of it.
Yes.
This is what we should be looking for.
Looks old, but
not that old, but old. Yeah. It's been like pressed together, I think. You see how flat it is.
Yes.
So the glacier has been like, it's not round like a tree used to be. The glacier weight has been pressing it down, so it's kind of flat now. Yeah, excellent. The river has been cutting down kind of a ditch into the moraine, or this soft gravel here, and that's probably the best place to go and look if something sticks out of the banks of the ditch, some layers with wood. So here is one, and there's another bigger one up there. Maybe we start with this one. I think maybe you should go to the very big one to begin with. That is the best bet, you know, the very big one. This is kind of, it's quite shallow here. So this is maybe remains of the vegetation kind of ground that used to be here. So in this kind of layer, I'm hoping that some trees might be still sticking out. So let's investigate that. There are some root systems hanging out there. So this is something from vegetation. They are hanging loose, probably something that belongs to trees. I would expect this big roots to be from trees, but not from small plants.
That's something bigger.
Yeah, could be something is attached to it. Can go a little bit further and see. It's a little bit hard to get down there. I need a little bit bigger tree to be happy.
Yes.
But this is why we do ice cave tours mostly in winter. The rivers, they come back to be big like this again when it gets warmer. Well, here we can get close to this layer we are looking for the pieces of wood of. This is an old, what used to be vegetation kind of layer. There are still some roots left behind, and here is, for example, what has been almost like a tree. I found a little bit bigger one further down, lying on the gravel. But it's very flat, so the glacier has really been pressing it together into a very flat thing. So I only found like this big pieces of wood so far. but this is from the forest that was here before the little ice age, what you call, but before maybe 14, 15, 1600, a little bit hard to say. So yeah, back to the old Mother Earth of my forefathers. Here is a good example of this remains of trees that we are looking for. This is like the bark tree that is probably pre-ice age, pre-little ice age. That is what you call the little ice age, 1600 to 1900. This piece of wood has been here in the layer we found, probably pressed by the weight of the glacier for 300 years or for 400 years. So it's kind of flat, as you can see. It's not round like a tree should be. It's been compressed for a long time underneath the weight of the glacier.
So we have found evidence that once trees grew in this area. Now we start to wonder what role climate change played in the disappearance of this whole forest.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about climate change in the world, and climate is changing for sure. This part of the land we are has really been going through dramatic changes, not only now the last 100 years or the last decades when they talk about climate change, but through the centuries. And since the settlement, it's amazing how much the climate has changed back and forth, and it's still changing today. But I think my friend Johann, he is a geologist. He will be able to explain that better.
Well, we are here by a mountain called Breiðamerkurjökull. It's the mountain by the broad forest. And there was a farm here right after the settlement in the 9th century. Obviously there were no glaciers here then. In fact, the glaciers were many kilometers further inland. Then this was a prosperous area for a few centuries, but in around 1300, climate started to deteriorate and glaciers started to grow and advance here. And in the next 300 to 400 years, this whole area was sort of covered to a large extent with glaciers, which destroyed this farmland. And later on, in fact, at the end of the 19th century, then the glaciers advanced almost all the way to the ocean, to the sea. But at that time, around 1900, they started to retreat. Then in the last few decades, the retreat has been enormous. They are back to this location here, still not back to the location that we had at the time of the settlement. But overall, we can say and firmly conclude that this climate change is overall quite negative, even though it's giving us very good land here that will in time grow with forest again, but still it's what we don't want to have.
The discovery of this forgotten forest is a powerful reminder of the forces of nature that have shaped our planet over time. While human influence is undeniable, we must also recognize that nature itself has its own patterns and cycles, for the good or the bad. Learning about the natural past of the Breiðamerkur forest allows us to understand how local environment has changed over the centuries and how it may change again in the future. We get to understand how local ecosystems have adapted and evolved, and how they may be impacted by future climate change. The expedition with Einar and Johann also makes us wonder what else gets exposed to daylight again when the glacier melts. As we uncover new secrets hidden in the ice, we learn more and more about the past. This might help us understand how we can develop strategies to preserve fragile ecosystems. Let's use the discovery of this lost forest as a reminder to appreciate and protect the natural wonders of our world and work towards a more sustainable future.